everyone, and welcome to another Cartoon Galaxy Rant, where I just can't help but rant about cartoons. Now, there is a lot to cover in relation to the new shows and Cartoon Networks to come. So, instead of doing a bunch of videos, I figured I'd just discuss everything in one video. Some news is pretty good, and I'm very excited to talk about it. However, there are other elements that I think might be okay, but I have that little cloud of reluctance floating over my head and just have to share my thoughts. So first, let's start with the extremely good news. Now, I'm not too certain if you guys are familiar with MeTV. If you grew up in the 90s like I have, you're probably familiar with TV Land, which was a cable network that aired a lot of older shows like I Love Lucy, I Dream of Jeannie, The Munsters, and so on. Well, MeTV is a newerish version of TV Land, and instead of just being on cable, it is directly over the air through your basic TV network, depending on your area. Now, even though this is a pretty cool station, they're expanding by making yet another network called MeTV Toons. This will be featuring a lot of the old cartoons we grew up with, mainly on Cartoon Network and Boomerang. So that means all cartoons by Hanna-Barbera, as well as some other popular tunes from other studios. These tunes being, for example, Popeye and Droopy. These will be shown on this network. In other words, we are getting the return of Cartoon Network and Boomerang the way we remember it when we were kids, just on a whole new network. And for anyone who grew up after the 90s, yes, Cartoon Network and Boomerang were originally reserved for those old cartoons before they started showing newer content like Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, and eventually even newer stuff like Adventure Time, Regular Show, and The World of Gumball. And MeTV is helping us relive that experience starting June 25th. And I don't know about you guys, but I can't wait. I also believe they have a schedule online of what is to air and at what times. Yeah, I'm freaking excited for this. The next thing I want to talk about is some new shows that are airing on Cartoon Network, as announced by the Warner Brothers Animation Studio Focus presentation at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival. Some of these shows are going to be for a preschool audience, some of which include relatable characters from franchises we're familiar with, such as Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and Adventure Time. The Foster show will only feature Blue, who makes a lot of mistakes that a bunch of younger imaginary friends learn from. The Adventure Time show is featuring BMO, who is learning about new and interesting things for his database. Now, I don't know much about preschool shows, but both sound interesting and fun for little kids. Honestly, though, if I had to choose between which two I think is going to be more interesting and successful at preschoolers, I think the BMO one has more potential to pique little kids' curiosity and get them enthralled in the show. The use of coloring in the promo looks more friendly for much younger kids, and the premise of discovering new things in such a creative way to help little kids learn about new stuff, I think that's going to really be a success. Foster can definitely interest little kids as well, but I'm not sure how it will be with just Blue and not the other characters. In the original show, all these characters worked so well together, and I can't see why they can't have that same chemistry between all the old and the new characters for this newer show, especially as this dynamic was so successful in the original show, but we'll have to see. As for shows for older kids, we have Adventure Time Side Quests, a series focusing on Kid, Finn, and Jake going on their usual adventures. A new regular show series. Unfortunately, there's no information about it, so hopefully we'll get some more to come. The only thing we do know, though, is it's still going to have the same creator from the original regular show, J.G. Quintel, so he'll still be working on it. And there's also supposed to be an Adventure Time movie in the works. There's another preschool project as well that I actually forgot to mention. Barbara Throws a Wobbler project. So that could be cool. And there's some new shows, in fact. One is actually called Lovey Dovey. So this show actually intrigued me. Maybe it's only because I'm obsessed with birds. But the story sounds cute, being centered around a dove who's looking for his one true love, but gets mixed up with some pigeons. So, I don't know, sounds kind of interesting. Also, J.G. Quintel, again the creator of the regular show, is developing another show called Super Mutant Magic Academy, which is created by Gillian Tamaki, who also created the webcomic that this show is based off of. And once again, unfortunately, there is no additional information available about this show, except that I think it will be on Adult Swim. Another show that's going to air on Adult Swim is called The Invincible Fight Girl, which features a character named Andy who wants to get into the wrestling world and meets a lot of other characters involved in this world. Not sure why the plot made me think of Nacho Libre. I don't know if you guys remember that show, but it kind of does, I guess, with the whole wrestling thing. Not to say it's going to be anything like it, I don't know. The art style definitely isn't the same as Nacho Libre. It looks actually really good, and it could be a fun show overall when it does come out, so it's another thing to really look forward to. Lastly, okay, and I'm saving this one for last because I have a lot to talk about this. Lastly, they're releasing yet another Scooby-Doo show called Go Go Mystery Machine. Okay, and here I go with this because I have a lot to rant about in terms of Go Go Mystery Machine. And you all are probably going to hate me now, but here I go. The reason I say you guys are probably going to hate me is because I notice a lot of people are hyped about this show. And I can understand this, as it looks to be an interesting and unique premise with a cool design in comparison to other Scooby shows. I also think that most of us fans are in constant desperation of something good, as we have been given a lot of mediocre to awful Scooby-Doo films and shows. Looking at you, Velma. And that all we can hope for is something that is finally decent or amazing to watch. But here's the thing. The promo image of the new show kind of bothers me. Okay, let me rephrase this actually. There are things I like about it, but there are things that got me a little skeptical, and I'll explain why. And before I get into it, I know a lot of you are also probably thinking, well, don't just judge by the promo image, Mars. The trailer will give you a more thorough idea of the show. And to that, I can agree, but don't misjudge promo art, because I'll tell you this, with the years of experience I've had in art and advertising, one little promo image can say a hell of a lot, sometimes even more than a trailer. For example, I'm going to backtrack here. Let's look at the first promo that was posted for Velma, way back on Twitter, before it was X. All we were given was the title. And I remember sharing on Twitter that day on how I thought the font of the title looked very similar, and maybe it's just me, but I thought it looked very similar to that of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Okay, you guys could be the judge of that as well. I felt it looked kind of similar. It had like this Asian vibe to it. And instantly I had theorized, just from the font of that promo, that Velma was going to be Asian. Not too long after this title was released, it was in fact announced that Velma was going to be Asian, bearing an Indian resemblance to Mindy Kaling because she's pretty full of herself. Then they released a promo image, and after that, some character images. I, as well as many others, knew the show was going to be crap just from those images. It showed an immature depiction of an adult cartoon, which displayed an unnecessary nudity and gore. And as for the character pictures, every character has a natural facial expression except for Fred, who looks completely dumbfounded. And I remember I had stated in one of my older Galaxy Rant videos that Fred's dumbfounded look was already foreshadowing to the fact that he was going to be an idiot. And boy, oh boy, did the show deliver on that. So yeah, pictures can tell you a lot, believe it or not. And I'm telling you this, Go-Go Mystery Machine 1 does it too. First off, the one thing that gets me is the lack of Daphne, Velma, and Fred. Not to say that they have to be there. There were Scooby-Doo shows that only had Shaggy and Scooby without the presence of their three friends. But the reason for this was because audiences weren't into the other three characters as much as Shaggy and Scooby, and that's why they were scrapped. I mean, we're also talking about a time when Scooby-Doo was losing its success. It wasn't gaining as much of an audience, and then they had to introduce Scrappy in the mix. So yeah, they also decided to remove Daphne, Fred, and Velma as a result of that. However, I wish I could talk to the creators of Go-Go Mystery Machine to inquire what their reasoning was to remove Daphne, Velma, and Fred. Because in current times, Daphne, Velma, and Fred are a lot more admired than they were back in the day, and for good reason. They've been given more personality, and therefore are a lot more interesting than they were way back in the 70s, and if they were seen a little bit in the 80s. So yeah, why remove them? That's the only thing I'm just very curious about. What was the thing that swayed that decision there? It's just kind of odd to me. Also, the premise of the show, so to get more into this promo, we got to look at what the show's about. So the premise of the show involves capturing Japanese ghosts. Since Scooby and Shaggy are in Japan, these ghosts are running amok since Shaggy and Scooby had accidentally released them. Basically, this show is the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, but in Japan. And not a bad thing, as I love the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. So this is actually pretty cool. I dig that whole idea. But here's the thing. If that's the plot, then why is it called Go-Go Mystery Machine? What the hell does the Mystery Machine have to do with Japanese ghosts? The title, when I hear the title, I don't think Japanese ghosts. I think of Speed Racer. So it's a very odd choice of a title for a show that involves catching Japanese ghosts, monsters, what have you. I don't know. It's just weird. Also, the Mystery Machine. It's a regular pickup truck with the Mystery Machine colors, but it looks pretty plain compared to its predecessor. So design-wise is also another thing. Maybe there's a reason for this, though. Maybe the flowers and all that other stuff is too much and not what they're looking for with this kind of plot. Or maybe with the overall design, which is obviously done in an anime style to match with the location. And I have to say, that is pretty clever and creative. So definitely points on the design. I do love it. But now to address one last thing that bugs me. One little thing. And maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe it's nothing at all and I'm losing my mind, but hear me out. I want you to look very closely at the positioning of the characters in the Mystery Machine. Look closer. Closer. Do you see it? Okay, maybe not, because I'm a stickler and I'm probably the only person who saw this. Let me ask you this. Who is driving the Mystery Machine? Is it Shaggy? Scooby? Nope. Neither of them. It's one of the three new diverse characters they added to the show, while Scooby and Shaggy are hanging for dear life on the back as if they're only there to go along for the ride. Now, I hope I'm wrong about this assumption. I really do. But I feel this setup is intentional. The show isn't going to focus a lot on Shaggy and Scooby. That's the vibe I'm getting. They're not going to really focus on them a lot. Kind of like the Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends preschool thing, where Blue is just leading on the preschool kids, the preschool imaginary friends. He's just kind of there to put a spotlight on these little new preschool characters, because I'm pretty sure that's how that show's going. That's basically Shaggy and Scooby. They're going to be there, but these three are going to be doing a lot more stuff, and Shaggy and Scooby are just going to be dawdling around with them, doing whatever they do. But they're not going to be the spotlight characters. I'm sorry. Just the way this is set up, it doesn't look that way. Also, once again, Scooby's name is not even in the title like most of Scooby shows that we've seen in the past. In fact, the only show that didn't have Scooby's name was Velma. And we can already see it was a series that focused more on using the franchise to lure fans to watch it while making a show that had nothing to do with the franchise and did everything in its power to push itself away from that franchise. You know, kind of like clickbait, but in a fucking TV show. Well, here we have yet another show that for some reason doesn't have Scooby's name in it. So is it possible that the main characters of this show are going to be these three new diverse characters, and Scooby and Shaggy are just going to be there along for the ride? Let me know what you guys think. Perhaps I'm being picky. Maybe it's just from years of Warner Brothers crapping on this franchise, but I'm pretty reluctant about the whole thing, and it's just little bits of stuff like that in the promo give me that vibe. I'm sorry, I just got that vibe, and I hope I'm wrong. Now, if we look outside the promo, there is another thing that I'm actually surprised no one even addressed. No one talked about the creator of this show. Who is the creator of this show? Well, they're saying online that the creator is Francisco Paredes. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I apologize if I am. But he is the creator of the show. Now, considering that he's doing a kids show with anime and monsters and adventure, you'd figure his creative repertoire would include similar shows. But if you look at his IMDb page, most of his work is in preschool shows. One of which is a baby freaking shark show. And anything that he worked on in terms of script and continuity development have pretty average to low ratings. How did someone with experience in mostly preschool shows get a creator role in a kids anime show? That just blows my mind. Now, despite how negative I'm being, I'm not saying the show is going to be bad. I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'm just being too negative. Maybe I'm just, thinking too much about this. It could be entertaining and fun. Maybe this guy is doing something new, and maybe he'll give us something great. I don't know. It's possible. But I mean, do I think that this show is also subverting our expectations only to do a 180 and be a completely different kind of show than what we anticipate it to be? Yeah, I'm definitely concerned that it may. Yeah. Little indicators in the promo and the creator of the show have me a little iffy about the whole thing. And yes, maybe when a trailer comes out, I'll find my theories to be wrong and feel a whole lot better. But so help me, if that's not the case, I might be done. And I mean this, I might be officially done giving any new Scooby-Doo things a chance. As this company, Warner Brothers, really doesn't give a rat's ass about the quality of a much-loved show. just trying to make that good old green cash. I hope that doesn't happen. We will see. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Maybe you guys saw something different. Maybe you could shed some optimism on my completely negative views here. Also, let me know what you think about the new shows on Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, as well as the release of MeTV cartoons, which, to be absolutely honest, I think is the only thing I'm excited about right now. At least there's that to look forward to. Am I right? Okay, I'll leave you guys here. Until next time, take care and peace out.